Ah, yes, my beautiful children. Before this video starts, I would like to tell you that this special storytelling ASMR is brought to you by ASMR Daisuke. If you ever want more videos like this, please show them their support that they need. Ah, yes, my children are now gathered around the fireplace or next to your bed place. Whichever where you are, it's alright. You must feel comfortable and remember, this is no interactive video. So please, if you ever want to, close your eyes. It's alright. I have only one ground rule before I start storytelling, and that is if you ever want to fall asleep anywhere in this video, please, you can always sleep. Sleep is #1 priority in this video. So the moment you wake, you can always check back on us or the next time that you want to play this video. So without further ado, I would like to tell you the first story, The Golden Bird. In the olden time, there was a king who had behind his palace a beautiful pleasure garden in which there was a tree that bore golden apples. When the apples were getting ripe, they were counted, but on the very next morning, one was missing. This was told to the king, and he ordered that a watch should be kept every night beneath the tree. The king had 3 sons, the eldest of whom he sent as soon as the night came into the garden, but when it was midnight, he could not keep himself from sleeping, and the next morning again, an apple was gone. The following night, the second son had to keep watch. It fared no better with him. As soon as 12 o'clock had struck, he fell asleep, and in the morning, an apple was gone. Now it came to the turn of the third son to watch. He was quite ready, but the king had not much trust in him and thought that he would be less use than his brother. But at last he let him go. The youth lay down beneath the tree, but kept awake and did not let sleep master him. When it struck 12, something rustled through the air, and in the moonlight he saw a bird coming whose feathers were shining with gold. A bird alighted on the tree and had just plucked off an apple. When the youth shot an arrow at him, the bird flew off, but the arrow had struck his plumage, and one of his golden feathers fell down. The youth picked it up, and the next morning took it to the king and told him what he had seen in the night. The king called his council together, and everyone declared that a feather like this was worth more than the whole kingdom. If the feather is so precious, declared the king, one alone will not do for me. I must and will have the whole bird. The eldest son set out. He trusted to his cleverness and thought he would easily find the golden bird. When he had gone some distance, he saw a fox sitting at the edge of the wood. So he cocked his gun and took aim at him. The fox cried, "Do not shoot me, and in return I will give you some good counsel. You are on your way to the golden bird. This evening you will come to a village in which stands 2 inns opposite to one another. One of them is lighted up brightly, and all goes on merrily within. But do not enter it. Go rather in the other, even though it seems a bad one." How can such a silly beast give wise advice? Thought the king's son, and he pulled the trigger, but he missed the fox, who stretched out his tail and ran quickly into the wood. So he pursued his way, and by evening to the village where the 2 inns were. In one they were singing and dancing. The other had a poor, miserable look. I should be a fool indeed, he thought, if I were to go into this shabby tavern and pass by the good one. So he went into the cheerful one, lived there in riot and revel, and forgot the bird and his father and all good counsels. Some time had passed, and when the eldest son, month after month, did not come home, the second set out, wishing to find the golden bird. The fox met him as he met the eldest. and gave him the good advice of which he took no heed. He came to the two inns. His brother was standing at the window of the one from which came the music and called to him. He could not resist, but went inside and lived only for pleasure. Again, some time passed, and then the youngest king's son wanted to set off and try his luck again, but his father would not allow it. "It is of no use," said he. "He will be less likely to find that golden bird than his brothers. And if a mishap were to befall him, he knows not how to help himself. He is a little wanting at the best." But at last, as he had no peace, he let him go. Again, the fox was sitting outside the wood and begged for his life and offered him good advice. The youth was good-natured and said, "Be easy, little fox. I will do you no harm." "You shall not repent it," answered the fox, "and that you may proceed more quickly, get up behind on my tail." And scarcely he had seated himself, when the fox began to run, and away he went over and stuck in the stone till his hair whistled in the wind. When they came to the village, the youth got off. He followed the good advice, and without looking round turned into the little inn, where he spent the night quietly. The next morning, as soon as he got into the open country, there sat the fox already, and said, "I will tell you further what you have to do. Go straight forward. At last you will come to a castle, in front of which a whole regiment of soldiers is lying. But do not trouble yourself about them, for they will all be asleep and snoring. Go through the midst of them straight into the castle. Go through all the rooms, till at last you will come to a chamber where a golden bird is hanging into a wooden cage. Close by there stands an empty gold cage for show. Beware of taking the bird out of the common cage and putting it into the fine one, or it may go badly." With these words, the fox again stretched out his tail, and the king's son seated upon himself. Away he went over stock and stone, till his hair whistled again into the wind. The king's son went into the chamber where the golden bird was shut up into a wooden cage, while a golden one stood hard by, and the 3 golden apples lay about the room. "But," thought he, "it would be absurd if I were to leave the beautiful bird in a common ugly cage." So he opened the door, laid hold of it, and put it into the golden cage. But at the same moment the bird uttered a shrill cry. The soldiers awoke, rushed in and took him off to prison. The next morning he was taken before a court of justice, and as he confessed everything, was sentenced to death. The king, however, said that he would not grant him his life on one condition. The king, however, said that he would grant him his life on one condition, namely if he brought him the golden horse which ran faster than the wind. And in that case he should receive over and above as a reward the golden bird. The king's son set off. He sighed and was sorrowful, for how was he able to find the golden horse? But all at once he saw his old friend the fox sitting on the road. "Look you," said the fox, "this had happened because you did not give heed to me. However, be of good courage. I will help you, and tell you how to get to that golden horse. You must go straight on, and you will come to a castle, where in the stable stands the horse. The grooms will be lying in front of the stable. They will be asleep and snoring, and you can quietly lead out the golden horse. But of one thing you must take heed. Put on him the common saddle of wood and leather, and not the golden one, which hang close by, else it will go ill with you." Then the fox stretched out his tail. The king's son seated upon himself. Away he went over the stock and stone until his hair whistled again in the wind. Everything happened just as the fox had said. The king's son came to the stable in which the golden horse was standing. just as he was going to put the common saddle upon him, he thought, "It will be such a shame. It will be such a shame. It will be such a shame to such a beautiful beast if I do not give him the good saddle, which belongs to him by right." Scarcely had the golden saddle touched the horse than he began to neigh loudly. The grooms awoke, seized the youth, and threw him into prison. The next morning he was sentenced by the court to death. The king promised to grant him his life, and the golden horse as well, if he would to rescue the beautiful princess from the golden castle. With a heavy heart the youth set out, yet luckily for him he soon found the trusty fox. "I ought to leave you to your ill luck," said the fox, "but I pity you and will help you once more of your trouble. This road takes you to the golden castle. You will reach it by eventide, and at night, when everything is quiet, the beautiful princess goes to the bathing house to bathe. When she enters it, run up to her and give her a kiss. Then she will follow you, and you can take her away with you. Only do not allow her to say farewell to her parents first, or it will go ill with you." Then the fox stretched out his tail. The king's son seated upon himself. Away the fox went, over stock and stone, till his hair whistled in the wind. When he reached the golden castle, it was just as the fox had said. He waited until midnight, when everything lay in deep sleep, and the beautiful princess was going to the bathing house. Then he sprang out and gave her a kiss. She said that she would like to go with him, but she asked him pitifully and with tears to be allowed to take leave of her parents. At first he withstood her prayer, but when she wept more and more and fell at his feet, he at last gave in. No sooner had the maiden reached the bedside of her father that he and all the rest in the castle awoke, and the youth was laid hold of and put in prison. The next morning the king said to him, "Your life is forfeited, and you can only find mercy if you take away the hill, which stands in front of my windows, and prevent my seeing beyond it. And you, and you must finish it within 8 days. If you do that, you shall have my daughter as your reward." The king's son began, and dug and shoveled without leaving off. But after 7 days, when he saw how little he had done, and how all of his work was as good as nothing, he fell into great sorrow, and gave up all hope. On the evening of the 7th day, the fox appeared and said, "You do not deserve that I should take any trouble about you. Nevertheless, go away and lie down to sleep. I will do the work for you." The next morning, when he awoke and looked out at the window, the hill was gone. Full of joy, the youth ran to the king and told him that the task was fulfilled, and whether he liked it or not, the king had to hold to his word and gave him his daughter. So the two set forth together, and it was not long before the trusty fox came up with him. "You have certainly got what is best," and said he, "but the golden horse also belongs to the maiden of the golden castle." "How shall I get it?" asked the youth. "That I will tell you," answered the fox. "First, take the beautiful maiden to the king who sent you to the golden castle. There will be unheard of rejoicing, and they will gladly give you the golden horse, and will bring it out to you." All was brought to pass successfully, and the king's son carried off the beautiful princess on the golden horse. The fox did not remain behind, and he said to the youth, "Now I will help you to get the golden bird. When you come near to the castle where the golden bird is to be found, let the maiden get down, and I will take her into my care. Then the ride with the golden horse into the castle yard. There will be great rejoicing at the sight, and they will bring out the golden bird with you." When all was accomplished, and the king's son was about to ride home with his treasure, the fox said, Now you shall reward me for my help." "What do you require from it?" asked the youth. "When you get into the wood yonder, shoot me dead and chop me head off and feet." "That would be a fine gratitude," said the king's son. "I cannot possibly do that for you." The fox said, "If you will not do it, I must leave you. But before I go away, I will give you a piece of good advice. Be careful about two things. Buy no gallows flesh. Do not sit at the edge of any well." And ran into the wood. The youth thought, "That is a wonderful beast. He has strange whims. Who is going to buy gallows flesh? And the desire to sit at the edge of a well has never yet seized me." He rode on with the beautiful maiden, and his road took him again through the village in which his two brothers had remained. There was a great stir and noise, and when he asked what was going on, he told that the two men were going to be hanged. As he came near to the place, he saw that they were his brothers, who had been playing all kinds of wicked pranks, and had squandered their entire wealth. He inquired whether they could not be set free. If you will pay for them," answered the people. "But why should you waste your money on wicked men and buy them free?" He did not think twice about it, but paid for them, and when they were set free, they all went on their way together. They came to the wood where the fox had first met them, and it was cool and pleasant. Within it, whilst the sun shone hotly, and the two brothers said, "Let us rest well a little by the well, and eat and drink." He agreed, and whilst they were talking, he forgot himself and sat upon the edge of a well without foreboding any evil. But the two brothers threw him backwards into the well, took the maiden, the horse, and the bird, and went home to their father. "Here we bring you not only the golden bird," they said. "We have won the golden horse and also the maiden from the golden castle." Then there was great joy. The horse would not eat, the birds would not sing, and the maiden sat and wept. But the younger brother was not dead. By good fortune the well was dry, and he fell upon soft moss without getting hurt. But he could not get out again. Even in this strait, the faithful fox did not leave him. He came and leapt down to him and upbraided him for having forgotten his advice. "But yet I cannot give it up so," he said. "I will help you up again into daylight." He bade and grasped his tail and keep tight hold of him, and then he pulled him up. "You are not out of all danger yet," said the fox. "Your brothers were not sure about your death, and have surrounded the woods with watchers who are to kill you if you let yourself to be seen." But a poor man was sitting upon the road, with whom the youth changed clothes, and in this way he got into the king's palace. No one knew him. The bird began to sing, the horse began to eat, and the beautiful maiden left off weeping. The king, astonished, asked, "What does this mean?" Then the maiden said, "I do not know, but I have been so sorrowful and now I am so happy. I feel as if my true bridegroom has come." She told him all that had happened, and although the brothers had threatened her with death if she were to betray anything, the king commanded that all people who were in his castle should be brought before him, and amongst came the youth in his ragged clothes. But the maiden knew him at once and fell upon his neck. The wicked brothers were seized and put to death, and he was married to the beautiful maiden and declared heir to the king. But how did it fare with the poor fox? Long afterwards, the king's son was once again walking in the woods, when the fox met him and said, "You have everything now and that you can wish for, but there is never an end for my misery, and yet it is in your power to free me." And again he asked him with tears to shoot him dead, then chop off his head and feet. So he did it, and scarcely was it done when the fox was changed into a man. and was no other than the brother of the beautiful princess, who at last was freed from the magic charm which had been laid upon him, and now nothing more was wanting to their happiness as long as they lived. Ah, yes, that is the story of the Golden Bird. I hope you enjoy this as we settle on to the next story. The Two Sisters. Once upon a time, there were two sisters who were like each other as two peas in a pod. But one was good, and the other was bad-tempered. Now their father had no work, and so the girls began to think of going to service. "I will go and see what I can make of it," said the younger sister, ever so cheerfully. "Then you, sis, can follow if I have good luck." So she packed up a bundle, said goodbye, and started to find a place. But no one in town wanted a girl, and she went farther afield into the country. And as she journeyed, she came upon an oven in which a lot of loaves were baking. Now as she passed, the loaves cried out with one voice, little girl, take us out, please take us out. We've been baking for 7 years, and no one has come to take us out. Do take us out, or we shall soon be burned." Then, being a kind, obliging little girl, she stopped, put down her bundle, took out the bread, and went on her way, saying, "You will be more comfortable now." After a time, she came to a cow lowing beside an empty pail, and the cow said to her, little girl, milk me. Please milk me. 7 years I have been waiting, but no one has come to milk me." So the kind girl stopped, put down her bundle, milked the cow into the pail, and went on her way, saying, "Now you will be more comfortable." By and by she came into an apple tree so laden with fruit that its branches were nigh to break. And the apple tree called to her, little girl, please shake my branches. The fruit is so heavy, I cannot stand straight." And then the kind girl stopped, put down her bundle, and shook the branches, so the apples fell off, and the tree could stand straight. Then she went on her way, saying, "You will be more comfortable now." So she journeyed on till she came to a house where an old witch woman lived. Now this witch woman wanted a servant maid and promised good wages. Therefore the girl agreed to stop with her and try how she liked service. She had to sweep the floor, keep the house clean and tidy, the fire bright and cheery. But there was one thing the witch woman said she must never do, and that was look up the chimney. "If you do," said the witch woman, "something will fall down on you, and you will come to a bad end." Well, the girl swept and dusted and made up the fire, but near a penny of wages did she see. Now the girl wanted to go home, as she did not like the witch service, for the witch used to have boiled babies for supper, and buried the bones under some stones in the garden. But she did not like to go home penniless, so she stayed on, sweeping and dusting and doing her work, just as if she was pleased. Then one day, as she was sweeping up the hearth, down stumbled some sooth, and without remembering she was forbidden to look up the chimney, she looked up to see where the sooth came off, and lo and behold, a big bag of gold fell plump into her lap. Now the witch happened to be out on one of her witch errands, so the girl thought it a fine opportunity to be off home. So she kilted up her petticoats and started to run home. But she had only gone a little way when she heard the witch woman coming after her on her broomstick. Now the apple tree she had helped to stand straight happened to be quite close, so she ran to it and cried, apple tree, hide me, so the old witch can't find me. For if she does, she'll pick my bones and bury me under the garden stones." Then the apple tree said,
Of course I will. You help me to stand straight, and one good turn deserves another.
So the apple tree hid her finally in its green branches when the witch flew past, saying,
Tree of mine, tree of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid? With a willy wag and a great big bag, she's stolen the money all I had.
The apple tree answered,
No, mother dear, not for 7 years.
So the witch flew on the wrong way, and the girl got down, thanked the tree politely, and started again. But as she got to where the cow was standing beside the pail, she heard the witch coming again, so she ran to the cow and cried, Cow, cow, please hide me, so the witch can't find me. If she does, she'll pick up my bones and bury me under the garden stones.
Certainly I will,
answered the cow.
Didn't you milk me and make me comfortable? Hide yourself behind me and you'll be quite safe.
And when the witch flew by and called to the cow,
Oh, cow of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid? With a willy wag and a great big bag,
who stole my money, all I had? She just said politely,
No, mother dear, not for 7 years.
Then the old witch went on into the wrong direction, and the girl started afresh on her way home. But as she got to where the oven stood, she heard that the horrid old witch coming behind her again, so she ran as fast as could to the oven and cried, Oh, oven, oven, hide me, so as the witch can't find me, for if she does, she'll pick my bones and bury them under the garden stones. Then the oven said, I am afraid there's no room for you, as another batch of bread is baking. But there's a baker, ask him. So she asked the baker, and he said, Of course I will. You saved my last batch from being burnt. So run into the bakehouse, and you'll be quite safe there, and I will settle the witch for you. So she hid in the bakehouse. Only just in time, for there was an old witch calling angrily,
Oh, man of mine, have you seen my naughty little maid? With a willy wag and a great big bag, who stole my money, all I had.
Then the baker replied, Look into the oven, she may be there. And then the witch alighted from her broomstick and peered into the oven, but she could not see no one. Creep in and look into the farthest corner, said the baker slyly. And the witch crept in, and when bang, he shut the door in her face, and there she was roasting. And when she came out with the bread, she was all crisp and brown, and had to go home as best as she could and put cold cream over her. But the kind, obliging little girl got safe home with her bag of money. Now the ill-tempered elder sister was very jealous of this good luck and determined to get a bag of gold for herself. So she in turn packed up a bundle and started to seek service by the same road. But where she came to the oven, the loaves begged her to take them out, because they had been baking 7 years, and they were nigh to burning. She tossed her head and said, A likely story, indeed, that I should burn my fingers to save your crust. No, thank you. And with that she went on, till she came across the cow, standing waiting to be milked beside the pail. And when the cow said, Little girl, milk me, please milk me. I've waited 7 years to be milked. She only laughed and replied, You may wait another 7 years for all I care. I'm not your dairymaid. And with that, she went on till she came to the apple tree, all overburdened by its fruits. But when it begged her to shake its branches, she only giggled, plucking one ripe apple and said, One is enough for me. You can keep the rest for yourself. And with that she went on munching the apple till she came to the witch woman's house. Now the witch woman, though she had got over being crisp and brown from the oven, was dreadfully angry with all little maid servants, and made up her mind that she would not trick her. and made up her mind this one should not trick her. So for a long time she never went out the house. Thus the ill-tempered sister never had a chance of looking up the chimney, and as she had meant to do at once. And she had to dust and clean and brush and sweep ever so hard until she was quite tired out. But one day, when the witch woman went into the garden to bury her bones, she sees the moment look up the chimney, and sure enough, a bag of gold fell plump into her lap. Well, she was off, and within a moment and ran till she came to the apple tree, when she heard the witch woman behind her, so she cried, her sister had done, apple tree, hide me, so the old witch can find me. For if she does, she'll break my bones, or bury me under the garden stones. But the apple tree said, no room here, I've had too many apples. So she ran on, and when the witch woman on her broomstick came flying by and called, oh, tree of mine, have you seen a dirty little maid with a willy rag and a great big bag who's stolen the money all I had? The apple tree replied, yes, mother, she's gone that way. Then the witch woman went after her, caught her, gave her a thorough good beating, took the bag of money away from her, and sent her home without a penny payment from all her dusting, sweeping, and brushing, and cleaning. Ah yes, my beautiful children are now hopefully asleep today. And if not, I would like to say thank you for still listening to this quite eventful video. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel right now. Once again, my name is Dai from ASMR Daisuke saying good night to you.